Hi friends, Astrologer Joseph Anthony here with another update, this one called Solar Flash Update. The reason I'm doing this is because obviously we've had so much solar activity in the last 2 weeks that I've had to do this, but I've also got an important message that I received, because I'm tuning into this constantly from a source that really surprised me, and I'll cover that towards the end of the video. But the information that was shown was very interesting, and I'm going to share it with many of you. Okay, so we're going to dive into this and see what's going on. And remember, we're entering that hot zone, as I suggested in other videos. And this really starts in August of this year of 2024. So let's dive in a little deeper. Of course, I have to watch what I say here. But, I do have a private community now that, I could actually talk without being filtered. But I'm going to just put something out so you guys get an idea of what I'm talking about. All right. So obviously I did this video, Solar Flash Event 2024. Is it going to happen? It's definitely looking that way, And so in that video, I talked about the real strong possibility of it actually happening based on what I saw in 2008, 2009. So that video's probably a few months back. So anyway, this is an update to that video. Now, if you guys don't know what a solar flare is, and I do have a lot of viewers that are new, it's when the sun basically burps, these electromagnetic fields that are so strong. And lately, we have been having some really strong ones hitting the Earth. And everyone's been feeling it, including myself. There are just days where I just don't have the motivation, or there's days where the energy is so high and strong that I feel empowered. So this is what happens when we get hit with these solar flares. So it affects people differently. But these are massive flares that basically surround the entire planet, and we're interacting with that energy constantly. Okay, so just please look it up. Also here is a great depiction of these solar flares that we've had. And the reason it's important is because we're hitting the X zone. X flares are very powerful. As you can see here, X3, X5. The strongest one so far has been on the 14th, X8.7. And this was Earth directed. But just look at all of these flares just in the month of May. So this is powerful stuff, and we cannot ignore it because look at how society is so dependent on electronics. Our cell phones, our computers, our banking, everything is dependent on this. And so we need to keep an eye on this stuff. Very important this year, especially going into at least till July of 2025, according to the scientists, because we're still in solar cycle 25. Okay, so here it is, solar cycle 25. Many scientists say that it's peaking in July of 2025. So we're kind of like somewhere over here. And so we're in that zone. We're in the red zone. And I'm saying, as an astrologer, and my spidey senses are telling me August is when the real show starts. And it goes all the way through the end of the year into 2025. And so we'll see what happens, excuse me. So we'll take it from there. But scientist, this is from one of the science journals, the strongest solar storm in 20 years did little damage, but worse space weather is coming. Yeah, no kidding, because we're still in that solar cycle 25. I left a link down below for this article if you're interested. I try and share as much information as possible. And if you guys find any, great, share it as well. Look, this is the KP index. If you're not familiar with that, this is an overall measurement of the energy hitting the Earth, the geomagnetic energy that's hitting the Earth. And when it gets into the yellow and then the orange, you're feeling it. I know every time this thing goes into the yellow, I feel so tired. And it doesn't matter what time of day it is. The last time it happened, it was like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was like, I got to go lay down because I feel something's going on. Then I go look at the KP index and it's up there. And then this one that occurred on the 9th and 10th into the 11th was so strong. I felt like I had 3 cups of coffee and, my nerves were like shaking. And I was like, what the hell? I felt like, this energy just going through me. And a lot of folks on social media were saying the same thing because that's how strong the energy was. And so we keep an eye on this. Okay, the KP index, spaceweather.com. Just keep an eye on it. That's all. And so, like I said, the most powerful so far in this solar cycle 25 has been that one on the 14th, 8.79. Strong. Man, that is super strong. And if it's directed towards something, it could absolutely affect power grids, cell phone towers. It already affects ham radios. And I do have a slide for that too. But we know that because the ham radio people all around the world are constantly monitoring these solar flares. So we know it takes out, radio frequencies. Okay. So the other thing is the reason we're experiencing all of this high intense solar activity has been because of the astrology. Many of us astrologers know this because when you have the sun right there and you have Jupiter, which is also a huge planet, huge body, and you have Venus on the other side, and then you have Uranus, which also is about chaos and sudden change, all pulling on the antagonizing the sun as it's doing here on the 18th, which just passed. It's going to cause the sun to act up. Remember, everything in this universe is magnetic or energetic. It has energy to it. And a lot of smart scientists know this, and they could tell you all about this. We psychics, mystics, astrologers, we know that there's a magnetic field pulling all the time. Our cells are in tune with these planets. Somehow the frequency of the planets seems to affect our cells, because they actually look alike under a microscope. So this is how we know all this. So it's pure science, not woo-woo stuff, even though there's definitely a lot of truth to the woo-woo stuff. But this is what's been causing these severe flares. And so I think we're going to have a little quiet period before everything starts acting up again in the end of July and August, where it gets really strong. So that's my prediction. Okay, let's see what happens. But here is another one that occurred on the 17th, right before the Great Conjunction, the double conjunction. But fortunately, this wasn't directed towards the Earth, and it was an M flare, which is not as severe as an X. But still, it's still pretty powerful. And of course, one of the other websites that I get information from, Earth Sky, on the 18th, this was early morning, there were more eruptions that are occurring because of the, that double conjunction between the planets. So you could see we're in that hot zone. Like I said, I think we're going to quiet down a little bit for a couple of weeks, and then it'll pick up again. This is how it works. So I'll explain why. Suspicious Observer. Ben over at Suspicious Observer does a great job. I've been following him for a couple of years because he has some real data, real science, real reports from scientists. And he put together this video, which I thought was really good. And he did say it was very difficult to come by this information, where the earthquakes were certain alignments that occurred with the planets were causing earthquakes. And he shows, I think, about 7 or 8 examples in this video. So he did a great job of, showing us that. So I left a link down below for that as well. Okay, so check it out when you get a chance. But we also have, and I'm doing this video on the 20th of May, 5 days from now, Jupiter enters Gemini. So it leaves Taurus and goes into the sign of Gemini. So what is Gemini? Gemini is associated with everything communication-wise. So we're talking about cell phones. We're talking about electricity. We're talking about radio waves. We're talking about anything that has to do with electronics. And Jupiter is going to amp up that energy. Okay, so you see the picture here. Now we have this energy shifting from the Earth sign of Taurus. So Venus will be leaving Taurus, Jupiter's leaving Taurus, the Sun is leaving Taurus. And in May, into the middle of June, we have all this electricity having to do with Gemini energy, which is high amperage. Okay, let's look at it that way. And so it's still a volatile time where I think we're going to see more of this stuff around the new moon on June the 6th. And around that period, and then some, because Jupiter is now amplifying all this energy, this cosmic energy. So like I said, I think we have a couple of weeks of quiet time. Then around the new moon on June the 6th, all the activity starts up again. And then it'll quiet down a little bit. And then it starts up again in July. And then it gets really strong in August. Okay? But Jupiter in Gemini is something to pay attention to. If our cell phones start acting up or our internet service starts going wonky, whatever, this is going to affect it. Okay, here is a depiction of all the magnetic field and all of the radiation that was hitting the Earth. And all those red zones are, the most intense. And so what we have here, and I did read a couple of articles where some of these regions, they had ham radio blackouts. and other radio communication frequencies were going out. Okay, so yeah, it's hard to get an account of all of them, but that's a huge region there. You see, that's mostly Russia and Asia that's being affected because they have the largest continents. So we could see that those red zones are something to pay attention to. All right, so what have I been saying all along? The biggest danger that I see has to do with power grids or communication systems going down. Now, I'm not saying this because I want to get everyone scared and, fear monger or any of that crap. No, I'm saying it that if you know something is a possibility of it happening, you prepare for it without the fear. You store up food, you have supplies, you have gold and silver, and you do things that prepare you because we're in that hot zone, okay? But look at this picture. All right, this is an artist rendering of towers being struck and all kinds of electricity in the air. Now, what has occurred in Texas? Look at those towers there. Texas power outages may last days after deadly storm sweeps Houston. Do you see a similarity here, folks? Do you see that this is acting up? But yeah, look at this. Look how strong those winds were that they literally bent the tower. So that artist depiction is not necessarily off, as I could see here. So we're seeing some severe weather in Texas. Here's the storms, just like that picture. Here's one that's hitting the actual building over there on the left. So we're seeing how this weather can affect electronics and power outages and so on. It's also causing major floods. Obviously, this amount of water coming down in a region like Houston, it's devastating to the people there, okay? And this is happening more and more. Now, here's the problem. This is not natural. This weather is not natural. We know there is manipulation taking place, and Into Thin Air has been doing a fantastic job of predicting this. He predicted that weather in Houston because what he was suggesting 3 days before this actually happened, he said, look at these lasers going off here. And it seems like they're guiding the storm into the Houston and Louisiana area. And he was correct. So, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure this out. But when you're looking at maps and you see these pulsing, radar systems that are activating, and then you see these lasers hitting these storms and guiding things, you got to put two and two together. And so this is not natural, what we're seeing. Some of the storms are because of the ionosphere being heated up and having a lot more, photon light. But what they're doing here, this is not natural, friends. Okay, so keep an eye on that as well. And I get a lot of people saying, well, why are they doing that? Because the psychopaths that run this planet are trying to destroy the country. They're trying to destroy the food sources. They're trying to scare people. They're trying to keep us in a lower vibration, and that's what they're doing. And it's sick, I know, but if you study these psychopaths, and they might not even be human, I've discovered, they might not even be human. Whoever's in charge and control, the AI, might not even be human. So, but take everything with a grain of salt. But I'm just showing you that there's serious manipulation taking place here. Okay, you want to know how serious? Here in Dubai, they literally tell you what they're doing. They call it cloud seeding. And by the way, all these patents have been released. We know who owns them. A lot of governments, a lot of these corporations, NGOs, non-government agencies own them. And they've been doing this for I think it was the biggest ones were in the 90s, but they've been doing this for 50, 60 years. But in Dubai, they don't have restrictions, so they tell people what they're doing. So here it is. Weather stations monitor the atmosphere right there, just like they're doing here. Planes equipped with specialized flares are launched right there. Salt is released into promising clouds right there, cloud seeding. Supercooled water condenses around salt grains, great. And then water droplets become heavy enough to fall as rain. Imagine that, 15 to 25% extra rainfall in a year. Sounds pretty good. But look, okay, this is what they're doing, basically charging up the atmosphere. But look at what's happening there. This is a couple of weeks back. They had major floods there because they're cloud seeding, and the natural weather that's changing everything, higher up is also basically, affecting this. So we have these two systems at work here. And, I know they know what they're doing. The dark ones know what they're doing. But look at what's happening. It's like it's almost as if the system is trying to reset itself. And I mean the AI, and I mean the dark ones that have been running the show. I think they're trying to reset everything on this planet, including the financial system, including food production, including human nature, human behavior. And the evidence seems to point to that, as crazy as it sounds, but that's what seems to be going on. So we really need to pay attention, at least the next year or two, to what direction this is all going in, weather-wise, and of course the economy. But here you see is another picture of Dubai and their water, the flooding that they've had. But anyway, let's go on to what I'm predicting here. So the summer, August, absolutely. As soon as the month of August, pay attention, start monitoring. I will do my best to keep you informed as much as possible, but keep in mind, I'm very limited at what I can say here. In my private community, I talk unfiltered. All the people there, I just let it go. So because that is more important. If people want to know, we're all looking for information, especially with all this Gemini energy coming in. We're all going to be curious. Okay. So between August 2024 and April 2025, that was the vision I saw. It was I literally saw 2024 and 2025. There is the strong possibility of a massive flare and taking out, electric grids and so on, a natural one, which may be helped and enhanced by the dark ones. I'm not going to lie to you. That is that possibility too. Okay. So, but I want to just go over the astrology real quick once again. August is a very tumultuous, unstable month astrologically. And every astrologer out there will tell you that. Not only do we have this full moon in Aquarius, which is also about electricity and power, we have a Mercury retrograde conjuncting the sun. You can see this right away. Just that alignment alone is enough to put you on edge. But there's more. Saturn right there will be squaring Jupiter exactly, as you could see here, at 17 degrees. But this alignment here is also making a T-square to Uranus. So we astrologers are going, whoa, boy, what are we in for in August? And it all seems to indicate technology, cell phones, electronics, communication, somehow, some way is going to be affected. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be everywhere, but there could be major cities that get hit with this stuff. Okay? And so my concern is, I live in Arizona. Arizona is an Aquarian state. The moon is in Aquarius. This could affect the Southwest, and this is where I'm at. I may have to drive a little further north. But anyway, I will be paying extra attention to all of this stuff going on in August. And I suggest you guys do the same. Okay. In the U.S. chart, we see the same thing here, that opposition, and it is affecting the moon of the United States. So the United States absolutely is in the crosshairs. And I think it's going to be the Southwest. All across the south of the United States, we may see rumblings of earthquakes. We may see power outages. We may see cell phone issues, all the way from California, all the way across into, the panhandle of Florida. That's the zone that I'm seeing, that this is a possibility of this happening here. Okay. We'll see what happens. Let me, if you guys find stories in August, about what's going on, because I'm only one person and, I put the stuff out there the best I can. But you folks out there that are also truth seekers, keep looking, keep finding the information best you can. Remember, it's being filtered as well. This is why many folks now are going to their own, communities, because it's just like, you have to just sterilize all of your conversations. And so this is why it's important. But here, again, the United States, I do see affecting the United States. The lunar eclipse in September, again, continues to pummel the energy. The moon and Neptune conjunct in Pisces, opposing the sun, squaring Jupiter once again, you see. And so once again, we're seeing all this conflict and, issues here. So we need to pay attention to it. All right. Again, in the U.S. chart, same thing. It's on its Neptune right there. This is where I think a lot of the shenanigans are going to happen with the election. And there is the possibility of someone passing away. And I wouldn't put it past the dark ones to say, all right, it's time to get rid of the stiff in the White House, the walking corpse in the White House. And, we're going to use that as an excuse because, everything is strategic with these people or non-people. So we'll see what happens, okay? But David Dubine from Adapt 2030, once again, he's been putting out more videos about the outer planet alignments, which we haven't seen since 79 AD, and I would have to agree with him because there is little Earth right there, and there are the 4 big planets basically pulling on the sun. And we have Mercury behind us, which is in retrograde or still falling behind or coming out of retrograde. Mars is on the side as well, and the poor little old Earth right by itself here. And so he suggests it's going to be October the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. He sees this being the strongest. So there is that possibility, too, that we have to pay attention to this. So I took the liberty of turning that upside down to show you what the astrology, how it works. And I've shown you this before. Here's Saturn, there's Saturn, here's Neptune, there's Neptune, here's Uranus, there's Uranus, there's Jupiter, there's Jupiter. And so this is just how we look at this. And we see the the Earth right in the middle there, nothing protecting us. So these outer planets are pulling and pulling and pulling. So let's see what happens. Okay, so why is this important? I had the vision, and so let me tell you what actually happened to me. Again, I've been saying how that double conjunction in Taurus is a visionary alignment because you have Jupiter, you have the Sun, and you have Uranus, which are doorways to the future. So I would say about a week ago, coming up early in the morning, because that's when the visions usually come in for me, usually 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, I will see something very vivid. And this was very strange because it was my father. And my father had passed away many years ago. And he was showing me something about the election coming up. And I said, very interesting. And what he was showing me he showed me power grids going down. And he was showing me that it was all artificial. That somehow the election was going to be stopped because of power outages. And this was going to occur in some of the major cities. And this is what he was showing me. Okay. So my father normally doesn't come to me, that image of my father. And, it's just one of those things that caught my attention. And maybe I needed that, to pay attention to it. So that vision of the election was about power grids going down in some major cities. So power outages is what I'm predicting for the elections prior to or around the elections. Some of them may be natural, but I was shown and told that it's not going to be natural. So we're going to see power outages in major cities around the election. Or, voting places going out, the power going out, the machines going out, whatever you want to call it. But I saw power outages, okay, major cities going out and these people not being able to vote. And this is going to happen all over the United States. That's what I was shown. Let's see what happens. I could only go by what my spidey senses were picking up. And it may just be 1 or 2 cities, maybe 1 city. I don't know. I could just put this out and see what happens, okay? So we're going to see this. Solar activity is going to be much higher, but don't buy into it. Do not believe that it's all organic. Okay, that's what I was shown by my father. So, in spirit, they're able to convey a lot more information because they're not bound by the physical suit anymore or the mind. And so it's just the spirit coming through. So do not believe these power outages are natural and normal because they're going to be induced. More than likely with those towers, and they're going to blame it on the solar activity. Matter of fact, they might actually do it during solar activity because they know it's coming. When these solar flares hit, we usually have a couple of hours to a couple of days before it actually hits the Earth. So they may just time it just right. Let's lock out power in this city, that city, and the other one. And they may just start blaming it on that, or take out the cell phone towers, or something to do with the internet. That is a possibility here, friends. So I'm just putting this out as a warning to pay attention and to prepare yourself, at least this year into July of 2025, for any possibility having to do with outages, having to do with internet going down, and so that way That way you have an idea of what's going on instead of running around like a chicken without a head, you know? And so this is why I do this. It's not to scare you. It's to prepare you without the fear, okay? So no fear. Forget about that word fear. Just be smart and prepare and go, I'm going to do the best I can. I have friends and family that are close. I'm going to trust them and we'll get through this, you know? Might be a couple of weeks, might be a couple of months of power outages. We don't know. But it's all pointing in that direction, okay? So anyway, check out one of these videos that I have at the end of this link. This is a masterclass that I put together. And basically I do have now a private community, and it's blowing up, and I'm grateful for everyone that's basically joined it. But I put this video together. Check it out. I think you might find it really interesting. For those of you that are new to truth seeking and understanding things, this video could definitely help you out. Okay, so remember, friends, spiritual light beings having human experiences. We're high vibration, especially you folks that are listening to me and many other truth seekers who are spiritual in content. You know, I see myself as just a messenger. I'm one of many thousands of messengers, hundreds of thousands of messengers. And my specialty happens to be understanding cycles and patterns and symbolism, and getting people to remember who they really are, which is spiritual beings having a human experience. And then everything else comes after that. And so that's my main message. And, I want to get that across to as many people as possible. Okay? So thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you. And, stay at the high vibration and we'll all get through this. All right? Have a great week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye for now.